Hi, everybody. I wanted to jump on here and provide some updates. I've recently confirmed about the Marine wife who was found dead at Kaneohe Bay Marine Corps Base in Hawaii on September 1st of 2024. Now, the military remains silent on this, and it's been 138 days now since this occurred. The husband was detained, and according to news released that day, was being questioned about the death of this woman, though they didn't give out any information besides just that. Woman dead, man being questioned. Nothing more. No information on how they were related or anything else. The rest I've gathered from inside sources who will remain anonymous. Now, I've received this woman's name from several different people, and so I'm quite confident she's the victim in question. The woman's name was Ruby Araceli Tenorio, and my apologies if I have mispronounced that. Ruby was 38 years old. She was born in Mexico, but grew up in the United States in Kentucky and Tennessee for her childhood. After high school, Ruby would live in California, North Carolina, Texas, and Hawaii. And you might notice that those are all places where there are a heavy military presence, but her obituary makes no mention of Ruby having a husband or being a military spouse. And so I'm guessing that was left out intentionally by her family. Ruby was a beloved sister, daughter, and mother, and Ruby leaves behind two children. I won't say their names, but they were 8 years old and 5 years old. Ruby's whole world revolved around her children. She loved taking them hiking, doing arts and crafts with them, and she loved photography. So she liked to take photos of her children and share them with her family members. She came from a big family, and she leaves behind lots of devastated aunts and uncles and a niece who she loved like she was one of her own children. Ruby's family says she was the best mother in the world, and her absence will leave a void in all of them forever. They also say that her sudden and tragic death leaves many people devastated and heartbroken. And I have to say, I'm one of those people. I am sincerely just so broken up about this because I've been so vocal about what a dire situation domestic violence is for the wives of military service members and how badly we need systemic changes. And these situations just keep happening over and over again. Some of the military wives I have been in contact with have shared with me that their husbands, who are officers, are told by higher up commanders that when presented with issues of domestic violence from their subordinates, to just leave it alone, to ignore it, to do nothing. And I believe it because we see this. We know that it's true and it's an epidemic. And now this command is keeping Ruby's death incredibly silent. And perhaps the reason why they feel even more incentivized to do so is because this is the very same command that was in place when Donna Alotaibi was killed by her Marine husband in 2022. And Donna is an especially polarizing victim because she had a very large online social media presence and she made several videos about how she had gone to the military, she'd gone to his command, gone to civilian police. She had begged people to help her. Her friends had called the police and the command, and nobody did anything. She said the only thing that was ever done was that they would make her Marine husband leave for a 24-hour cooling off period. And now I know this is a tactic because I would report my ex-husband and they would send him to sleep at the barracks for a night and cool off, and he'd be home the next day. It does nothing. It does nobody any good at all. And Donna's video is especially harrowing because she's talking about how her husband had told her he would kill her, he would end her, and he'd choked and strangled her. And if you'd listened to any of my other podcasts, I have shared a few times that if an abuser puts his hands around the neck of his victim, that the likelihood of him killing that victim within the next year is increased by 750%. So Donna was in immense and grave danger. But she left him, and he killed her. Nobody should be surprised. And we now see these commanders trying to silence horrible stories. In fact, in Japan in October of 2024, a woman was found dead, a military wife in a Japanese hotel room, and her U.S. service member husband was detained. And again, just like in Ruby's situation, not a single detail of their identities or the circumstances of her death have been released. Now, the military will tell you that they have a zero tolerance for domestic violence. They'll talk about all the programs they have and the resources they have for victims. But let me tell you, as a woman who tried hard to activate and access those resources, I didn't have a good experience. They're going to point you to a therapist and they're going to point you to family advocacy. And at one point, I had left my husband for fear he was going to seriously hurt me or kill me. And I left with nothing but my car. I had no access to funds, nothing. And I was sleeping in my car, and I decided to go report him to see if they could get me resources or get him mental health help. And I will never forget this woman who was there at Family Advocacy was talking to me, and she says, "Sit tight." And she's consoling me, and she says she's going to go get some pamphlets and resources. And she steps away, and a few minutes go by, and I start to get nervous because it feels like she's been gone for a while. And the next thing I hear is my ex-husband, at the time my husband, his booming voice and laughter in the next room. And he's saying he's going to take care of everything. I'm crazy. He's going to take care of it. Don't worry. Because that woman had stepped out and she'd immediately called his first shirt. And you know what? Maybe with good intentions. She called the first shirt. And what that first shirt did was tell my ex-husband, "Hey, your wife's at Family Advocacy." Now, I'm not sure if he said to him, "Go get her ass and get her in line," or if he said, "Just so you know, FYI, your wife's reporting you." But either way, it was horrific. And I fled. And it was an absolute nightmare of retaliation from him and his buddies after that. And now I'm not saying that all people at Family Advocacy are bad, but I've never had a good experience and I don't know anybody who has. That doesn't mean that they haven't improved since 2010 or that they haven't helped someone out there. But here's what wives do tell me all the time. They tell me they report to the military, they beg for help, they ask for no contact order or resources or access to funds to get away, and nothing happens. The husband never gets in trouble. They never get paperwork or lose rank, but they also never get help if they're mentally unstable. It's honestly getting dire. Now, this week, I'm traveling for my job, and so I haven't had the opportunity to edit the part 2 from last week's episode. If you listened to last week's episode, I did an episode on Matthew Livelsberger. And actually, this is really eerie. Matthew Livelsberger is a Special Operations Army soldier who blew himself up in a Cybertruck in front of Trump Tower. And I am in Las Vegas this week for work, and it's the evening, and I'm sitting here in my hotel room staring out at the Las Vegas Strip from the Venetian, and the view right in front of me is Treasure Island and Trump Tower. It's just really eerie thinking about what happened, honestly. So I'm working on editing part 2 from last week's episode, and it's going to be the continuation about that where I talk about Shamsuddin Jabbar and his terrorist act that occurred on New Year's Day and the commonalities he had with Matthew Livelsberger. That episode is going to go live on Monday, January 20th, also Inauguration Day and Martin Luther King Day. And then on Thursday, the 23rd, I'm going to do a deep dive on the Donna Alataibi story, and it'll be live that day. But today, I share with you the name of Ruby, and in my show notes will be a link to her obituary. Please go visit that. Pay respects to this woman who did not deserve to die and whose name shall be known. If you have additional details, if you're the friend or a loved one of Ruby's and you want to share more on this podcast, please email me at healingwounds13@gmail.com. And in fact, if you'd like to be a guest for any reason or chat with me about episodes or anything, the content, please email me there. Now, I usually try to respond to everyone, but a few listener emails have actually gotten deleted. So if you have not heard back from me, please resend your email and I promise to respond. If you do contact me through the link in the show notes, it's really silly. This platform gives you a link in the show notes to contact me. I can read your contact notes, but I cannot respond. I don't understand the point of that. So email me at healingwounds13@gmail.com. Also, if you aren't following me, please follow me. Please follow the show. Share this with anyone who may benefit from it. And also, I'm just starting to get active on YouTube. Most of my presence online has been on TikTok, but I am transferring everything over to YouTube. So look for me there. I am Tressa the Truthsayer. Go subscribe. And yeah, new episode on Monday, January 20th. Ruby Araceli Tenorio. Say her name.